Welcome to News9 Live, and you are watching On Point. I have 9 on points or 9 top stories for you, but let me begin with the first on point. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says he will never do Hindu-Muslim divisive politics in midst of infiltrator remark Rao. Prime Minister Narendra Modi responded to the accusations that he is fueling divisions between Hindus and Muslims to secure victory in 2024 Lok Sabha elections. And I'll play it verbatim as to what the Prime Minister said. And the Prime Minister said, "I believe that the people of my country will vote for me. The day I do Hindu-Muslim, I will be unworthy of public life and I will not do Hindu-Muslim. It is my resolve. I do not work for a vote bank. I believe in Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas." And let me repeat it. Let me repeat this. This is what the Prime Minister said. He stated, "The day I engage in Hindu-Muslim politics, I will be unfit for public service," and reaffirmed his comments and reaffirmed his commitment by saying, "It is my resolve that I will not engage in Hindu-Muslim politics." Prime Minister Modi also clarified his remark on those who have more children. Prime Minister said, "I'm shocked. Who told you that whenever one talks of people with more children, the inference is that they are Muslim? Why are you so unjust towards Muslims? This is the situation in poor families too, where there is poverty, there are more children, irrespective of the social circle." I don't mention either Hindus or Muslim. I said that one should have as many children as you can take care of. This is what Prime Minister said, and he was pretty categorical. PM also addressed the allegations, as I said, at a rally on Wednesday.
धर्म के आधार पर बजट का भी बंटवारा, धर्म के आधार पर इन्होंने देश को बांटा, और आज भी वो धर्म के आधार पर भांति भांति के बंटवारे करने में लगे हुए हैं। लेकिन कांग्रेस कह रही है कि एससी, एसटी, ओबीसी और गरीबों का आरक्षण छीनकर मुसलमानों को दे देगी। कांग्रेस आपकी संपत्ति को भी जब्त करके उसका हिस्सा अपने वोट बैंक को देने की तैयारी में है। लेकिन कांग्रेस और इंडी अगाड़ी वाले कान खोल करके सुन ले, मोदी धर्म के आधार पर न बजट बांटने देगा और न ही धर्म के आधार पर आरक्षण देगा।
Now let me go for a flashback. Prime Minister Modi a few weeks ago had sparked a row where he accused Congress of giving away the property of the poor to those who have more children and infiltrators. He alleged that the Congress wanted to give the ST, SC, OBC quota to Muslims. The Congress even complained to Election Commission of India, which in turn issued a notice to Bharatiya Janata Party. Let's listen in to what the Prime Minister had to say then.
पहले जब उनकी सरकार थी, उन्होंने कहा था कि देश की संपत्ति पर पहला अधिकार मुसलमानों का है। इसका मतलब ये संपत्ति इकट्ठी करके किसको बांटेंगे? जिनके ज्यादा बच्चे हैं उनको बांटेंगे। घुसपैठियों को बांटेंगे। क्या आपकी मेहनत की कमाई का पैसा घुसपैठियों को दिया जाएगा? आपको मंजूर है ये कांग्रेस का मैनिफेस्टो कह रहा है कि वो माताओं बहनों का सोने का हिसाब करेंगे।
And now I will play out a bite of Home Minister Amit Shah. speaking at an election rally in West Bengal, he accused the Mamata government of giving preference to Mullah, Maulvi and Madrasa over Ma, Mati, Manush.
जब प्राण प्रतिष्ठा हो रही थी, सभी राजनीतिक दलों को निमंत्रण भेजा गया। पूरे इंडिया अलायंस ने, एक घमंडिया गठबंधन ने प्राण प्रतिष्ठा का कार्यक्रम का बहिष्कार किया। और मेरा स्पष्ट आरोप है, जिसका जवाब उन लोग देते नहीं, कि उन्होंने अपनी माइनॉरिटी वोट बैंक के डर से वहां जाना मुनासिब नहीं समझा। मेरा एक ही मुद्दा है कि ईद के दिन आपको मुस्लिम भाइयों के साथ ईद मनाने में कोई झिझक नहीं है। आप मुस्लिम नहीं हो तो भी, मगर हिंदू होते हुए राम मंदिर की प्राण प्रतिष्ठा में नहीं जाते हैं, क्योंकि मुस्लिम वोट बैंक आपसे नाराज हो जाएगी। किस तरह की पॉलिटिक्स है? आप अपनी खुद की आइडेंटिटी के साथ छेड़ कर रहे हैं, छल कर रहे हैं।
इमाम को, मुल्लाओं को बंगाल की तिजोरी से तनख्वाह देनी चाहिए क्या? अरे जोर से बोलो, देनी चाहिए। हाईकोर्ट ने ना बोल दिया, ममता दीदी ने वक्फ बोर्ड से देने का काम किया। पूरे देश में रोहिंग्या घुसते हैं, ममता दीदी नहीं रोकती। राम मंदिर का विरोध करती है, दुर्गा विसर्जन के परमिशन नहीं देती, और रमजान में मुस्लिम कर्मचारियों को छुट्टी देती है। ममता दीदी, हमें इसकी तो तकलीफ नहीं है, 2 छुट्टी आप, मगर हमारे दुर्गा पूजन में क्यों नहीं देती हो? इसका जवाब तो हम चाहते हैं आपसे।
And before I go to my guest, and subsequently I'll be playing out the bites of the Congress leaders, Hemanta Biswa Sarma also added to the vote bank row when he said BJP needs 400 seats to ensure the construction of temples in Kashi and Mathura, replacing the mosque. Let me play out and then I'll frame the debate.
जब हमारा 300 सीट था, हमने राम मंदिर बनाया। अभी हमारा 400 सीट होगा, मथुरा में भी कृष्ण जन्मभूमि बनेगा, और ज्ञानव्यापी मस्जिद का जगह में बाबा विश्वनाथ का बड़ा भव्य मंदिर बनेगा। तब हमें सीट देते रहिए, और मुगलों ने जितना कारनामा करके गया था, हम लोग सब साफ करते करते चला जाऊंगा। भारत को साफ करने का भी बहुत कुछ बाकी है ना, अभी भी तो काम खाली नहीं हुआ है।
I will be playing out the bites of the Congress leaders. They will get the play in the show. But let me now frame the debates and introduce my guests. I'm joined by Dr. Anil K. Verma, political analyst, Bhanu Chandra Nagarajan, again a political analyst, and my colleague, input editor, News9 Live, Brijesh Pandey. Now, these are the timelines. Brijesh, in politics, there is always method to the madness. There is method to the madness. My question is, if there is method to the madness and BJP wanted to brazen it out the way they said Kabristan and Shamshan Ghat, why is there a quick shift of goalposts? What's the core logic behind first saying this and then retracting and saying something different?
Well, Karthikeya, I'll be very, very honest about it. Just because, we're covering politics for such a long time doesn't make that you can decipher the real intent or the import behind what is said. This is the second statement of Prime Minister Narendra Modi which has baffled many, and many are not able to wrap their head around it. The first was Adani Ambani, being in cahoots with Rahul Gandhi and giving them black money and all, which nobody was able to decipher as to why the Prime Minister had to say this when the shoe was on the other foot. The second is when the Prime Minister say that I do not discriminate in the name of Hindu and Muslim, and the day I do it, I should not be in the life. Either he's getting some sort of input which is saying that, that polarization is going on and, you should do it, not do it because, of your stature as a Prime Minister, and will reflect poorly on the international arena. Barring that, the speech of top BJP leaders, central ministers, chief minister and Prime Minister himself leaves a lot to be desired. And there's a 180-degree difference between what Prime Minister said in yesterday's interview to a news channel where he said that I do not discriminate, and the sound bites which we have played. The discrimination is out there and open. You have to be blind or daft to not see it. So it's very, very baffling why the Prime Minister said what he said.
Bhanu, cold analysis. First you say something, it is part of your politics. Okay, there is an election commission of India and there are courts. people can go there. Right or wrong, people can debate in TV studios and people can vote on it. I want to know from you is why this shifting is taking place.
See, the Prime Minister fashions himself as a social leader and a moral leader more than a political leader. He thinks that the society is the substratum on which politics is just a layer. And he has learned this through his long years in the Rashtriya Swayamsevak exam. It is very beautifully described in the book Republic of Hindutva by Professor Badri Narayan. See, that forms his worldview. Probably he is getting feedback from the society, from various sources that there are statements that have been misrepresented or not not understood in the way that he has conveyed. See, Prime Minister Modi has done a few things in the last 2 years where he has specifically addressed the issues of the Muslim society. Obviously, like he spoke about the Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, the Labharti program, infrastructure, etc. Other than that, there has been a specific Paspanda outreach. And secondly, if you remember the Nupur Sharma issue, he has sent a very clear signal that no caustic remark will be tolerated. So he has done all of this. But like what Home Minister Amit Shah was saying, if somebody else, if Mamata Banerjee did what she did in terms of allowing only Muharram celebrations and not allowing Durga Puja celebrations, or denying the invitation to Ram Mandir. So if somebody points this out, why are they being termed as communal? Are what the perpetrators doing not communal? So I think that is where the fundamental issue is. But I think if Prime Minister has clarified this, it means that it is kudos to the media that we have extracted this clarification from him.
Dr. Verma, your opening comments on it,
Yes.
and then we go to the second part of it.
Can you frame your question first? I missed on the
Okay.
question.
So my question is, one issue is that, BJP can do its hard Hindutva politics. There is an electoral rhythm to it. People understand it. What is your cold analysis that the Prime Minister takes a hard Hindutva line? The words Hindu Muslims are used by everyone from Himanta Biswa Sarma to Amit Shah to Prime Minister. But suddenly the clarification starts pouring in. First it was in the context of reservation, now it's in the context of infiltrators, and then it's in the context of discrimination. Why this switch is taking place?
Well, that is a complicated question. I don't know.
No, I mean, you see, the reason why I'm not going into the good and bad, right now, that is why I said I'm not going into the good and bad. I've thought about it. I want to know what is the method in the madness. There's always a method. No politician makes statements like that. No one does that.
Yeah, I understand your question. And I think two things are coming to my mind. One is that during the heat of elections, and it's a very elongated election, very lengthy election, 7-page election, and a lot of heat, environmental heat also, and political heat also. So in that hard heat, to keep cool and keeping your tempers cool and your language cool and your idea cool becomes a little difficult for everybody. And the kind of political culture that our electoral process has suffered, the oratory, the ideas and expressions, they have touched a new low, be it anybody for that matter. And therefore, in the heat of elections, we have been noticing that even in the previous elections, such things have happened. But, one opening remark that you said is, I see that the Prime Minister, right from day one, wherever he goes, he has shown his inclination for inclusive politics, and he always used the word 140 crore Indians. So that is his intent. And whatever developmental things he has been doing, that development things have been, percolating to each and every community down the line. The problem is that the partition of the country was done on the basis of Hindu-Muslim. And as we all know, the Congress was responsible for that. And there isn't any historical, you don't have to dig, big books to learn that. And everybody knows that the Congress was a party to this partition, and the Hindu-Muslim card is initially attributed to the Congress party, which many refrain to point out. But then suddenly you find that that was a very half-baked thing. Either the partition should have been complete if it was to be on the basis of Hindu-Muslim, but the partition wasn't complete and most of the Muslims were retained here. And thereafter, the ones who were decided to stay here, we have been, our entire constitution, entire governmental approach has been very soft with them, so soft that people started feeling that they are suffering some kind of victimhood. And that victimhood has now percolated. And I assure you that what the problems of Muslims, the problem that Muslims are suffering, if you ask any component of the Hindu society, they will also tell you that the same sufferings are being, suffered by them also. But then when it comes to a Muslim community, then there are, it becomes...
Dr. Verma, is just a supplementary. Yeah. You can continue with your answer. Is this victimhood imagined or real?
No, I think this victimhood is not so very real because in certain areas you see, the Muslims aren't now minority. In many areas, they are more than 50%, 48%, and your constitution hasn't, defined what a minority is. So in many areas where the Muslims are dominating, things are a little different. And therefore, the optics has gone all over that the victimhood is not genuine. So that's my opening.
Brijesh, your thought on the imagined or not so imagined victimhood?
Well, I would say that, I mean, the kind of historical perspective which Dr. Verma was giving, nobody is denying that. What we are trying
I agree with Dr.
nobody is
Verma.
denying that. But what I am trying to say is that what we are trying to debate here is why did the Prime Minister made the turn? Because if you look at the timeline, before the first phase of voting happened, the Prime Minister only spoke about, development. The Prime Minister only spoke about Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. The Prime Minister lampooned Rahul Gandhi, which he is entitled to do as a politician. Correct. He is fighting elections. He is absolutely well within his remit. But I think, after the first phase, until yesterday, there came a time when the entire focus of the narration shifted to only one thing. A, how Congress will take out a reservation from all communities and give it to Muslims
BJP.
only. I mean, starting from Prime Minister. Prime Minister himself made several such statements. The Guspaitia remark was a precursor to that.
And give it to us. Oh, yes, yes.
Was a precursor to that.
Yes.
And from the day one of the second phase till yesterday, the Prime Minister was pretty aggressive about it. And all of a sudden, so that is why I said that, in my limited understanding, either he gets the feel that, that after first phase, you felt that the situation didn't went the way you would have imagined. See, the response from the ground was not that encouraging. And now he feels, or the BJP feels that, it's far more settled now and he would want to completely, disassociate himself from these remarks because, he's a Prime Minister. Forget him being a BJP leader, forget him who he is. He's also Prime Minister of the country and no Prime Minister would want this kind of, minority bashing tag attached to it. And irrespective of what the BJP says or try to come, the kind of statement which was made by Home Minister Amit Shah and also the statement which was made by Himanta Biswa Sarma and others. I mean, it's a very clear indicator of what the BJP is trying to do. You may say Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, but that is also, that can be termed imaginary by the opposite side also, no? Because they say that you say Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, but right from number 2 downwards, everybody plays politics of complete contradiction.
Bhanu, there are 2 points. One is imagined victimhood, and the secondly is the core constituency of the Bharatiya Janata Party. Is it correct to say that the core constituency of Bharatiya Janata Party has not changed? In fact, the code has solidified even further.
I think, like what the previous speaker was saying, it's a very long political campaign, and the voting percentage is really relatively lower compared to 2019. So, any political leader would want the rhetoric to be edgy such that the people come out and vote. The second important thing is to energize the Karyakarta. Nothing energizes the BJP Karyakarta more than reminding them about the Congress's pseudo-secularism, right? He actually picked up all the right issues in terms of like Prime Minister Manmohan Singh. Why did he not say that the poor have the first right to the resources of the country, and why did he say it's Muslim? Why did the governments of Andhra Pradesh and Karnataka not talk about economic reservations and reservations for Muslims and things like that? So I think he is energizing the Karyakarta so that they can go do the get out the vote operation.
Okay.
Right. So all of this, yeah. And one last point is the Congress will be really tasked you like pick out all the videos in which like there were edgy statements made, pro-Hindu statements made, because then they are going to like shoot themselves in the foot and they are going to energize the BJP cadre even more.
Okay, stay with me. Let me play out the reactions from the Congress party on the statements given by the Prime Minister. So, Mallikarjun Kharge and Jairam Ramesh, both the leaders reacted.
जिंदगी में तो झूठ बोलते ही आए गए, ये एक एडिशनल झूठ है, तो इसको कोई महत्व मत दो आप। हम तो रिजर्वेशन के लिए लड़ रहे हैं, संविधान बचाने की बात कर रहे हैं, तुम तो संविधान को खत्म करने की बात कर रहे हैं। तुम्हारे को कोई नैतिक हक नहीं रिजर्वेशन के बारे में बोलने का।
प्रधानमंत्री का पूरा प्रचार हिंदू मुस्लिम करके रहा है, सब लोग जानते हैं, सब लोगों ने देखा है, सुना है, पढ़ा है, और आज कहते हैं कि अगर मैं हिंदू मुस्लिम की राजनीति करता हूं, मुझे सार्वजनिक जीवन में रहना मैं लायक नहीं हूं। बिल्कुल लायक नहीं है। ऐसे प्रधानमंत्री जो गलती भी से भी सच नहीं बोलती।
So, Dr. Verma, this brings me to the third part of this conversation. It is okay to solidify your course, but every politician, every politics, every polity have got some Lakshman Rekhas, some lines of Maryada. I mean, so if they start getting breached from the top, then what do? Even if it is instrumental logic.
I think, Karthikeya, you are very right. And I think it would be in the fitness of things if the Prime Minister would have cared to avoid what he said, because he did not mean it, as he himself has clarified later, that he did not mean. And let me tell you one thing, that given the demographic character of India now, 200 million Muslims, greater than the number of Pakistan, one would wonder. So with this huge number of Muslims in India, no political party can afford to be, neglecting a particular social denomination, especially the Muslims. They are huge in number. And if you have to do democracy, if the democracy has to exist in India, and I'm sure it has to, then of course any political party would not like to. And Bharatiya Janata Party has been traditionally painted as anti-Muslim. So they have a baggage. And from that baggage, they suddenly cannot come out. And all the political parties has been attributing this, anti-Muslim, character of BJP on them repeatedly. So sometimes they lose temper, sometimes they go astray. But I think the kind of initiatives that the BJP has taken for the betterment of Muslims, for the welfare of Muslim women especially,
or is it because of one factor, Dr. Verma, that suddenly the voting percentage was down, the guarantee was not evoking enough emotional chord, and suddenly the goalpost shifted and you found that the Congress had run away with one campaign theme, and for last 14-15 days it's BJP which is playing on the opposition's theme, which was supposed to be dead before the election started. लोग तो यही कहते हैं ना, कोई चुनाव ही नहीं है जी इस बार तो, और suddenly you ended up responding to whatever deep fakes, artificial intelligence, you can even say lies, but you actually ended up responding to the charge.
Let me point out one thing, that this M square factor is going to work very well in the outcome on 4th of June. M square, by M square I mean Modi and Muslim. And these factors, if you go to the ground and try to feel the undercurrent, there are very substantial, tangible things which are felt by the Pasmanda Muslims and the lower Muslims, and who are not attracted by all these rhetorics, the academic rhetorics that are happening in election time, who says what, because Modi has also been, attacked so vehemently by others. He will kill the constitution, he will throw away democracy, he will run away, he will do this, he will do. When opposition is also trying to create a narrative of accusations. So that is in that framework and the heat of the elections and the campaign, sometimes one is, sometimes there are slippages, and perhaps that slippages we have seen from the top also. So what I say that in the real sense of the term, I must tell you, Mark, question, because we were doing some empirical studies also, that at the grassroots level, this is not being correctly reflected in the data that we are receiving.
That's a very important observation. Why do you say that? Why is this anomaly then?
This anomaly is just, you see, it is an optics, the optics which has created by the opposition rhetoric, everybody falling on Modi, remove Modi, remove Modi, remove Modi, and he will kill constitution. So Modi is also a human being. He has been suffering this kind of attack right from 2002, and he has been, maintaining his calm. Sometimes, he can also slip, and probably that is what we have seen in the heat of elections nowadays. And therefore, I would not buy this logic because of the lowering of the vote share, because academically there is no political theory to suggest that lowering of the vote or higher voting percentages affects the incumbent in which way. It is both the way.
Absolutely right. There is no disagreement, Dr. Verma. Mrs. Gandhi in 1970 got lower share of the vote and she swept the elections. Bhanu, you wanted to come in?
Yes, quickly, Kartikeya, you asked whether it was real or imaginary, right?
Yes.
In Sanskrit, there is this beautiful word called Yogakshema, right? Which means a comprehensive welfare, and the political system and the government, the form of government that we choose, should ensure that. If you look at the material welfare, I think nobody will disagree with the fact that all the schemes have reached everybody. But in the psychological front, what happens is during election campaigns, there are these remarks that come in, right? When Winston Churchill said that democracy is the worst form of government except for all other things, right? So we have to have elections, and with the information cycle and social media sort of creating this negative spiral, these sort of comments get magnified. In fact, 90% of the time spoke about development only, but we pick up the 10%. And I think the one nation, one election should be understood in this concept. In this context.
Brijesh, before I play out the bite of Priyanka Gandhi Vadra, do you think it's a sign of nervousness, or do you think that they have done it purposely to increase the vote share?
Oh, I think, it's back to the basics, and that is the reason why, suddenly we saw a barrage, a deluge of comments which were targeting a specific community. Dr. Verma was talking about Pasmanda Muslims. When Pasmanda Muslim I was there in Hyderabad when this statement was made by Prime Minister, and then I went back to Lucknow and a couple of other places where I spoke to at least 300-400 of them. Many of them were not willing to speak on camera. They said that, I agree that the welfare politics which is being initiated is religion agnostic. Many of them agreed that they got it. But then, the common refrain was that, boss, the pancherwalas you target or other, insulting jibes which are hurled are only for the pasmandas. It is not the highbrows or the high Brahmins within the Muslim community who get targeted. So it's a dichotomy which the Prime Minister has to address. And that was one of the constant narrative which emerged. So, I mean, if the Prime Minister is making an honest outreach to the Pasmanda Muslim, which forms a sizable chunk, then, then he has to ensure that the party also doesn't behave, which further antagonize them rather than throwing water over
I don't think that the Congress is letting go of this opportunity. Priyanka Gandhi Vadra has also responded to this.
भाजपा के यहाँ के जो प्रत्याशी हैं, सुबह से शाम तक प्रधान को प्रताड़ित करते हैं, कोटेदारों को प्रताड़ित करते हैं। यहाँ का कोटेदार वैसे भी मुसीबत में रहता है। अन्य प्रदेशों में 200-200 रुपए मिल जाते हैं, यहाँ 90 रुपए मिलते हैं, और वो भी नहीं मिलते क्योंकि बीच में अधिकारी भी ले लेते हैं। तो यहाँ का कोटेदार वैसे भी दुर्बल है। अब आप ऊपर से उस पर दबाव डाल रहे हो, ऊपर से उसको प्रताड़ित कर रहे हो, तो किसको छोड़ा है? गरीबों की जमीन ले रहे हो, प्रधानों को, कोटेदारों को तंग कर रहे हो, प्रताड़ित कर रहे हो। ये होता है काम किसी राजनीतिक प्रत्याशी का? ये सांसद बनना चाहते हैं आपके? इनके पांचों भाइयों ने आतंक फैला रखा है पूरे क्षेत्र में। सांसद आपके मेरे भाई अगर बनेंगे तो आप देखना, माताजी का काम आपने देखा है कि किस तरह से काम होता है, झुक के आता है आपके सामने। माताजी कभी अहंकार को लेकर नहीं आई आपके सामने, हमेशा झुक के आई, आपकी बातें सुनी, आपको समझा, आपका आदर किया। हमारी विचारधारा यही है, हम चाहते हैं आप मजबूत हो, तो जहां जहां हमारे प्रदेश है हम यही चाहते हैं मोदी जी, भाजपा के सारे नेता, उनका तो ध्यान कहीं और है। उनका ध्यान सिर्फ यही है कि सत्ता कैसे अपने हाथों में रखनी है।
We'll play out the other part of the bite where she categorically speaks about this section. This was one part of the bite where she was framing her conversation. But Brijesh, I think the bottom line here is that the election has hooked itself on two things: reservation, constitution, and now the benefits to the Muslim. Is there a fourth issue which is resonating now?
I think there are only two issues. One is that which unwittingly Congress got the better handle on the narrative than BJP, because in the last 10 years I have seen BJP being leagues ahead as far as narration building is concerned than Congress, which is that if they get 400, they kind of utilize this 400 remark against the BJP by saying if they get 400, the first thing which they will do is that they will change the constitution and then they will remove the reservation. And I think that has been the most powerful narration as far as 2024 election is concerned. And that is the reason why the BJP was forced, starting from Prime Minister saying that the party which will really do this is the Congress party, that they will remove it from the OBC, EBC and SC, ST and give it to Muslim. That is where the first time this narration came into picture.
Dr. Verma, is it correct to say that only these two issues have become the principal issues in this election?
Kartikeya, what our study and what our impression of the ground reality is slightly different. The one thing is that the bite that you showed of Priyanka Gandhi was probably Rai Bareli. And the Rai Bareli thing that she is saying that her mother was very humble and she empowered you. And if that was true, then Congress would not be reduced to losing all the 5 assembly segments in Rai Bareli. That is one thing. And the second thing is that coming to the issues, I must tell you that the issues which are normally being cited, reservation and this price rise and unemployment, they are not issues at all. There are certain other issues which are, invisible. There are certain issues which are behind the, which we call the undercurrent issues. And the undercurrent issue is that a very small, a very large section, there has been a constituency transformation. You were talking about whether the core constituency is strengthened and peripheral. What I am looking at is that the Prime Minister has completely transformed the BJP constituency and has created 4 classes. And these 4 classes, one is women, the second is the poor, the third is the marginal farmers, and the fourth is the youth. And I will point out here that PM Modi started his Mann Ki Baat 10 years back. And imagine those first-time voters who were of probably 8 years then. And during the last 10 years, the kind of smart politics that he has done through Mann Ki Baat, he has created at the age of 18 to 25 a very large number of his supporters in the youth. And given this entrepreneurship thing, youth also understand that if we are adding every Sudan and countries like this population-wise to our country, it is absolutely impossible for any government to give, jobs. And therefore, entrepreneurship is another window for them to have, So what Prime Minister Modi has done is that he has made a complete transformation of the traditional optics of caste politics, and he has superimposed class politics on caste politics.
Okay, fair enough. Before I go to Bhanuchandra, let me play out the second part of the bite which I mentioned, which Priyanka spoke in context of Prime Minister.
ये सिर्फ झूठ फैलाते हैं। आज तो ये हद हो गई है कि कल प्रधानमंत्री ने बोला कि मेरे पहले के सारे बयान गलत थे। वो 10 सालों से राजनीति कर रहे हैं धर्म के आधार पर। हर चुनाव को हिंदू मुसलमान बनाते हैं कि नहीं बनाते हैं? बनाते हैं। कल ये कहते हैं कि मैंने कभी ऐसा नहीं किया, कि अगर मैं ऐसा करता हूं तो मैं इस पद को रखने के मैं लायक ही नहीं हूं। तो 10 सालों से क्या कर रहे थे आप? मतलब या तो जो आप पहले कह रहे थे वो झूठ है, या जो आप अभी कह रहे हैं वो झूठ है, क्योंकि पूरा देश देख रहा है। तो ये झूठ फैलाने के अलावा ये कुछ नहीं करते।
So, Bhanu, before I close in this debate, a quick comment from you. Has it turned into Mandal 2.0 version, into Kamandal 2.0 version, you know? Caste shrill met with hyper-religious shrill. And both understand that it is required. Ye to chahiye.
Karthik, I agree with all the wise comments made by the previous speaker. I think this people have made their minds much before the elections have started. And I think when a voter goes to the booth, she still faces the option between a capable leader, a strong organization, and all the benefits that the government has given her. So I think the choice is very stark. Even now, Priyanka Gandhi, she is very right to point out and counter the BJP, but she is still not giving the reason on why people should vote for the Congress. I think that has been the persistent issue throughout this election. And I mean, the long election, the rhetoric will go here and there. We can discuss multiple things and interpret it. But I think in terms of voting, the voter has made her mind much before the election.
No, and there is another unique thing about this election. The principles going on here have reduced for the first time. I have also covered elections last 25 years. But in this time, it is either Priyanka Gandhi or Amit Shah or Prime Minister Modi. Rahul Gandhi has not given interviews, elaborate interviews of Mallikarjun Kharge, they are absent. I mean, so the principal faces have been reduced. And it clearly shows from the BJP side, the election on every seat is being contested by Prime Minister Modi. And Congress on the other side is trying to contest election, that is my understanding, seat by seat. That because that is from the position of weakness and the former is from the position of strength. And that is what the real politics is. Thank you so much, Bhanu. Thank you so much, Dr. Verma, for joining me on this debate. But that's the first on point. Second on point is BJP leaders slam up Aadmi Party over Rajya Sabha MP Swati Maliwal's alleged assault at the hands of Delhi CM Arvind Kejriwal's close aide Bibhav Kumar. So what is the mystery? After a break.